Hi everyone, myself Dr. Yogesh, Professor and HOD from the Department of Oral Pathology and Microbiology, Sri Rajiv Gandhi College of Dental Sciences, Bangalore. Today I am going to talk about an important odontogenic tumor which is ameloblastoma. Odontogenic tumors are one of the main pathologies seen in the head and neck area. Ameloblastoma is defined as a true neoplasm of the enamel organ which does not undergo differentiation to the point of enamel formation. But Robinson has described this ameloblastoma as an unicentric, non-functional, intermittent in growth, anatomically benign, clinically persistent. Unicentric means this tumor arises centrally within the bone. These are the main central tumors which arises within the jawbone. Non-functional means it does not produce any tissue like enamel or dentin. That's why it is called non-functional. Intermittent. These are slow growing lesions. They won't grow in a rapid or they do not show any aggressive behavior. Anatomically benign. They don't undergo metastasis. They are benign, slow growing, and they destroy the neighboring structures slowly until unless it is removed, and clinically persistent. That means these lesions will remain within the bone till we remove it. We have to surgically intervention has to be done for these ameloblastomas. Amelo means enamel, as we know. Blastoma is a benign tumor. So they represent a wide spectrum of lesion from malignant to benign counterparts. They mainly arise from the odontogenic residues, mainly enamel organ, the odontogenic epithelium, and sometimes involving the ectomesenchyme. And very rarely these ameloblastomas exist or they develop along with other tumors like AOT, adenomatous odontogenic tumor, or sometimes from the lining of a dentigerous cyst. So the definition which I already told you, Robinson's definition is most widely accepted, and the term ameloblastoma was coined by Churchill in 1934. And there are various synonyms for this ameloblastoma which are called adamantinoma, adamantoblastoma as a multilocular cyst. These are the various other synonyms used for the blastomas. Pathogenesis. So as I said already, the main pathogenesis involved in ameloblastoma is the odontogenic apparatus. Mainly sometimes from a long-standing dentigerous cyst, which we have already discussed in the odontogenic cyst. The main complication of dentigerous cyst is unicystic ameloblastoma. The lining of dentigerous cyst can give rise to ameloblastoma. Apart from that, degenerating odontogenic apparatus or the enamel organ. Sometimes it can also arise from the basal layer of the oral epithelium. That's why during the treatment aspect, most of the time we remove the overlying oral epithelium. And apart from that, cell rest of Malassez, cell rest of Serres, they are the remnants of dental lamina and Attwix root sheath are also involved in the pathogenesis. So this is a diagrammatic representation showing the various sources of epithelium, the rests of dental lamina, rests of Malassez, which are involved in the development of root, Hartwig's epithelial root sheath, and the lining of the odontogenic cyst, mainly dentigerous cyst. All are involved in the pathogenesis of ameloblastoma. So what are the various types of ameloblastoma? We have three main types: unicystic, multicystic, and peripheral type. Peripheral means which occurs outside the jawbone, that is in the gingiva mainly. We call peripheral ameloblastoma. Whereas these multicystic ameloblastomas are usually occur within the bone. This multicystic can be either we call soap bubble or honeycomb pattern in the radiographically. We will discuss later. Apart from the multicystic, the opposite will be unicystic, a single unilocular radiolucent, which is most typical of unicystic ameloblastoma. So based on the clinical behavior, we have solid or multicystic, then unicystic and peripheral. These are the benign variants. In the malignant, we have two types of ameloblastoma, which are called malignant ameloblastoma and ameloblastic carcinoma. These behave in a malignant fashion, so this has to be dealt separately. All this identification can be done only by histopathology. So based on the location, intraosseous, that is the central variant, and extraosseous is the peripheral variant of ameloblastoma. Histologically, there are various types of ameloblastoma. Main thing, we have the follicular ameloblastoma. Within the follicular ameloblastoma, we have granular type, acanthomatous, basal cell type. Then we have plexiform ameloblastoma, then unicystic ameloblastoma. This unicystic ameloblastoma is the most favorable, or the ameloblastoma with good prognosis type. Within this we have luminal, intraluminal and mucosal. Apart from these variants, we have also something called desmoplastic ameloblastoma, which occurs most commonly in the anterior maxilla. Then we have giant cell ameloblastoma, where giant cells can be predominantly seen. Then we have melanoameloblastoma, where the pigment can be seen within the ameloblastic histopathology. Unicystic ameloblastoma, as I already told you, the most commonly this arises from a long-standing dentigerous cyst. It's one of the complications of a dentigerous cyst. Okay, so this unicystic ameloblastoma arises mostly in the mandibular ramus angle region. This is the most favorable type of ameloblastoma. It shows only 15% recurrence. The exact lithohistiogenesis is not clear. As I said already, from the lining of the dentigerous is the suggested etiology. So high percentage of these lesions will be associated with the impacted tooth, and with the provisional diagnosis will be dentigerous cyst, and the final diagnosis can be confirmed only by histopathology. So histopathology, we mainly concentrate on the Vickers and Gorlin criteria. So apart from this ameloblastoma shows tumor projecting into the lumen as well as sometimes into the capsular wall. So this, in some instance, this ameloblastic epithelium may be proliferative with the extension of the epithelium into the lumen. This feature is called intraluminal. Sometimes it can go into the capsular. We call it as plexiform unicystic surface. In the group 2, we have the nodular proliferation into the lumen without infiltration of the tumor cell into the connective tissue wall. And group 3, mural unicystic ameloblastoma, wherein invasive islands of ameloblastomatous epithelium in the connective tissue wall, not involving the entire epithelium. So mostly it is seen in the second and third decade of life, that is younger individual. Mandible is more common than the maxilla, and posterior region, malar ramus angle region is the most common site, because third molar, mandibular third molar is the most common impacted tooth. That's why it is seen in association with the impacted tooth. Radiographically, it appears as a well-defined radiolucent lesion. It's a unilocular, well-defined. It usually mimics dentigerous cyst because that will be still attached to the neck of the tooth and usually associated with the unerupted and impacted third molar. So the next is the peripheral ameloblastoma. Peripheral, the name itself says it occurs outside the jawbone, usually in the gingiva and sometimes in the oral mucosa. It is harmless, it is innocuous, okay? It doesn't spread to the other sites like bony ameloblastomas. Mostly it is non-invasive, and only 1 to 5% of the ameloblastoma shows peripheral variant. Again, younger individuals with male predilection and the mandibular gingiva most commonly, especially in the premolar area, 3 millimeter to 2 centimeter in their dimension has been noted. Simple excision is enough and the recurrence is very rare. Next, come to the clinical presentation of a solid ameloblastoma or the conventional ameloblastoma or multicystic ameloblastoma. Usually they are the solid tumors with sometimes cystic degeneration. There can be surrounding the tooth can get resorption with loosening of the tooth. When the nerve is involved, alveolar nerve, inferior alveolar, mental nerve, paresthesia and anesthesia is commonly seen. Draining sinuses, unhealed extraction sockets are usually associated with the granulation tissue. Most of the time, mandibular ameloblastoma, mandibular angle ramus and third molar area is a common site of ameloblastoma. Maxillary ameloblastoma, especially desmoplastic ameloblastoma, it is the one variant which is mostly seen in the maxillary anterior region. Whatever the type, whether it is desmoplastic or follicular, the treatment is the same. Okay, surgically it has to be treated. In case of maxillary ameloblastoma, nasal obstruction is the first symptoms, where the patient will say nasal obstruction with obliteration of the vestibule. Bone will be not compact and it will be easily invaded in case of maxillary ameloblastoma. So this is the mandibular ameloblastoma showing angle third molar. There will be buccal cortical plate expansion, eggshell cracking can be seen, sometimes mucosal perforation. When the nerve is involved, the regional nerve, paresthesia and anesthesia is commonly. The intraorally soft tissue ulceration due to the perforation of the center. Radiographically, a classical multilocular, so many large locules. We call this as a soap bubble appearance. Sometimes these locules can be uniform in size, which give rise to honeycomb appearance. So both are multilocular lesions. The only difference is in the size of the locules, okay, the radiolucency. And we can see the root resorption happening in the involved tooth region. Again, a typical honeycomb where most of them are showing in some area with uniform locule. So, mainly come to the histopathology. The granular cell ameloblastoma is the most aggressive type among all the type of ameloblastoma. Granular cell ameloblastoma, sometimes it can show metastasis. But most of the time, the ameloblastoma seen will be a follicular variant and its plexiform followed by acanthomatous. So we will discuss each. What is histopathology of ameloblastoma typically shows is the follicle. Numerous islands can be seen. So these are the Vickers and Gorlin criteria. We usually hold true for a unicystic ameloblastoma: tall columnar cell, hyperchromatic nucleus, palisaded nucleus, a reverse polarity of the nuclei, and subnuclear cytoplasmic vacuolation. So a typical follicular ameloblastoma shows numerous islands or follicles, as you can see, with the peripheral ameloblast like cells and the central stellate reticulum like cells. The central stellate reticulum like cells can undergo cystic degeneration. So in case of follicular ameloblastoma, cystic degeneration is common within the follicle. These are ameloblast like cells because they have a hyperchromatic nuclei, tall columnar cell, but they don't produce the enamel. Why? Because there is no dental papilla. That's why for the amelogenesis to happen, there should be first dentin formation should happen, dentinogenesis, that should stimulate the ameloblast to deposit the enamel, which is not happening here because this ameloblastoma is purely an odontogenic tumor of epithelial origin without any ectomesenchyme. There is no hard tissue formation. Sometimes in case of ameloblastoma, we see a surrounding inductive effect. What is this induction effect we see an homogeneous eosinophilic material which resemble like dentin, homogeneous eosinophilic material which resemble like dentin. That induction effect is because these ameloblastoma try to form enamel thinking there is a surrounding tissue is dental papilla. So the induction effect is seen usually around the follicle. So this is the plexiform ameloblastoma. Plexiform means network like or anastomosing. So here we don't see the typical follicles. So these anastomoses are joined to each other, and the connective tissue capsule can be seen here, the connective tissue stroma I mean to say. So cystic degeneration here is common in the connective tissue stroma. Acanthomatous ameloblastoma is again similar to the follicular ameloblastoma. The only difference is the follicular cells, the central cells, stellate reticulum like cells will undergo squamous differentiation. They undergo the squamous differentiation. That's why they are called acanthomatous ameloblastoma. Granular cell, as I said earlier, this is the most aggressive variant of ameloblastoma. So this granular variant sometimes has been shown metastasis into the lungs, liver, because the cytoplasmic granules. What is the source of the granule is this granules has been shown positivity for lysozymes, cathepsins and various other lytic enzymes. So this granular ameloblastoma has been reported in the literature showing aggressive behavior. All other features will be remains the same. Peripheral ameloblast-like cells, central stellate reticulum, sometimes with acanthomatous change, but all the cells shows pink to eosinophilic cytoplasmic granules. These granules are the one responsible for the behavior. Next is the basal cell type of ameloblastoma. Basal cell, it is so called because it resembles like basal cell carcinoma of the skin. Basal cell carcinoma is a most common malignant tumor of the skin, commonly seen in the white people. So this, since it resembles to basal cell carcinoma, all the cells are like basaloid type of cell with hyperchromatic nuclei within the connective tissue stroma. There are no stellate reticulum like cells here because all the cells will be more hyperchromatic, which resemble like basal cells. Desmoplastic ameloblastoma. This is one special category of ameloblastoma in which the histopathology is very classical and also the clinical appearance is distinct from that of the other classical types. This desmoplastic is most commonly seen in the anterior maxilla. The involved maxillary tumor can grow to large extent, sometimes involves the root resorption, buccal cortical plate expansion, then the lingual cortical plate. So this is a tumor most commonly seen in the maxilla. So a thin cortical plate of the bone may get weak and it acts as a spread for the tumor. Since the maxillary bone is less dense, this will spread rapidly compared to mandibular lesion. So a maxillary and desmoplastic ameloblastoma showing obliteration of the vestibule and expansion of the buccal cortical plate. So the same radiographic picture of the same lesion. You can see a radiolucent lesion, especially on the medullary bone. This is also causing root divergence. So again an expansile lesion, thinning of the cortical plate, okay, seen in the desmoplastic ameloblastoma. So the histopath is very classical. The most of the time the stroma will be hyalinized or hypocellular. Desmoplasia means, desmo means collagen, increased collagen. Plasia means the fibers. So they have a tendency to grow in thin strands and cords of epithelium rather than the islands. Because of the dense collagen, they compress the tumor island. That's why instead of the regular follicles, the follicles will become thin strands and cords. The peripheral cells instead of tall columnar, they become flattened to cuboidal. The central cells are rarely scanty and they rarely show stellate reticulum like features. So this is the picture of desmoplastic ameloblastoma. The follicles, because of the increased collagen content, they compress and they become desmoplastic ameloblastoma. So Reichert has defined the follicular type as the highest recurrence rate, while acanthomatous is the least type and with plexiform intermediate. So most of the time the treatment will be radical excision, conservative surgical excision. Sometimes neck resection can be done, supraomohyoid. This treatment has to be reconstructed. Thank you.